How many times have you wanted to walk away from real estate?
Probably every single day of my career, there have been times when I'm like, what am I doing?
What would you tell somebody who's like, hey, I think I'm going to be a coach?
Number one, make sure you're not doing it for the money. We built it to 120 agents, and by most, you would think that was successful. And in all honesty, it was a hot mess. Agents don't want to hire somebody. Well, I can't afford to hire somebody because they're on commission only. So, if they do hire somebody, here's how they do it.
Hey, hold on. Before we get back to the episode, make sure you like and follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It means the world to us. And don't forget to turn on that little notification bell so that you get alert every single time we drop a new episode. If you want to really go hardcore, go binge some of our past episodes, and please leave a 5-star review. All right, back to the episode. Welcome back to Real Estate Untucked. Today, we are excited. I am so excited to have you on here. Marguerite Crespillo, something like that. I'm close, right? For the people in the back, how do we say your name perfect?
Marguerite Crespillo with a P, like P as in Paul, Crespillo, like cress and then a pillow, Crespillo.
I really hope there's not a spelling competition after this.
You want to
You
make it
are
worse?
a real estate veteran. What is it? How do we make it worse?
My maiden name was Squincio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next time it's the Smiths. There we go. So you are a real estate veteran with over 30 years of experience, and you've helped create wealth, navigate. I love you've navigated all these different real estate markets, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. You've helped over 4,000 families in your lifetime. I mean, that's crazy. And you built it all on your foundation of relationships. You are the host of Real Estate and the creator of world-class online training programs. Like, you've done all this amazing stuff where you share your knowledge. And I love that so much about you, that you're so much about learning and then giving back, which I think is amazing. You've added a lot to real estate. You've also authored a book, which I have, 100 Things I Love About You, which highlights your 30th, is it still 33 years? I mean, that's amazing. 33 years.
Let's see. It will be 39 years coming up here in May.
Man, that's back when they let them get married at 7, right? You've been married to your husband, Joe, and you've raised 6 kids. I thought I was doing big. You raised 6, and now you have 8 grandchildren, which is amazing, which I mean, true testament to your faith, family, business, and how you can, and I'm so interested to ask more about this, how you intertwine them all. So I'm excited to dive into your journey. I really want to hear some of the tactics, but also like your philosophy on relationships, business, and how you look at it. For at least from the outside looking in, you've really created a legacy in real estate. So I'm excited to get into all of it. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
How many times have you wanted to walk away from real estate? Like if you had to add them up, what do you think? How many would that be?
Probably every single day of my career, there have been times when I'm like, what am I doing? Maybe I need to go get a job at Taco Bell. They can't possibly have stress working at Taco Bell. I mean, literally a lot. I've wanted to walk away.
And I see that so much right now. So many people right now that are having that thought of like, I mean, we have it all the time, right? But it's even more right now where it's like, we start having these fascinations of like, maybe I should go work at Target and just scan stuff. You know what I mean? Why are you glad you pushed through? And what do you tell yourself in those moments? Like, do you have to sit down and do the math of what it actually makes to work DoorDash, or like, what do you do?
Well, I have.
Yeah, me too.
I have to remind myself, honestly, how incredibly blessed that I am. I mean, I grew up with a single mom, extremely poor, homeless at times. I mean, literally jumping in dumpsters to get food and doing a lot of things. I barely graduated high school. I have a PhD, a public high school diploma, right? Which I literally got by the skin of my teeth. I mean, I think I had to pass a biology class on a Thursday with a D so I could get the credits so I could graduate on Friday. I mean, so luckily my report card said talks too much. That worked out for me. But truth be told, I didn't have an education. I didn't come from any kind of a business or family background or anything that would support that. I literally remember the very first commission check I got, which at the time, I mean, we're talking 31 years ago, that commission check was like $5,000, which is even a lot of money today. But at that time, I mean, that would have been 3 or 4 months worth of work in a regular 40-hour-a-week job. And I got that first commission check, and it was so much fun. I had so much fun helping these people find that home. They actually still live there today. find that home and help guide them through the process. And with real estate, it was something different every day. And I'm probably ADD, like probably 90% of the agents out there. So things were always changing and I was always having to figure stuff out. And that intrigued me. And then to be able to give somebody keys and help people with the biggest financial decision that they make in their life and be able to be a part of that. I've tried over and over and over again to think of what else I could do that could have that kind of an impact. I can't find it. So if it's out there, I'm sure it is, but not for me. And to be able to make the life-changing money I've made, and it hasn't just been about money, but it has completely changed the trajectory of my life, my children's life, and so many others that there's nothing like it. I don't know what else I would do. I don't think I could make that impact at Target or Taco Bell. Maybe.
Well, one important question. What was the dumbest thing you spent that $5,000 on? When you had to treat yourself, it was your first commission check. You had to do something.
So many stupid stuff. I mean, I don't even, I don't think I can remember that back that far, but I would say that I'll tell you, here's a lesson for agents. I've spent so much money on training and education and the good old days of cassette tapes and all kinds of things, which I don't disagree that you should get that stuff. The problem is I can't tell you how much of it sat in my garage that I never opened. How many books I bought that I didn't read, how many training classes I paid for and didn't show up. I mean, I know you guys know this as a coach, how many people pay for your course, and it's cool that they pay for your course, but we really want them to show up.
Right.
We really want them to get the help and the education that they need. And I can't tell you how many of those I bought and did nothing with. And that to me is probably the biggest tragedy. Now, I did do a lot. There's stuff that I did, obviously I did do a lot of trainings. I did do a lot of reading. I did participate in a lot of stuff. But the best stuff I will say that I've participated in is getting to physical events.
Yeah, 100%.
Getting in rooms with amazing people, because the best conversations happen around the fire pit, around the pool, around the bar. That might not be such a good idea, but
or hot tub.
The reality is the best stuff I've ever gotten have been when I got to an event, when I came to one of, whoever's putting on an event, and maybe you don't even love the speaker, but you meet some of the best people at those events. You meet people from all over the world that are doing stuff that you have no idea is even possible. So
it's funny you bring that up.
Answer to your short question.
No. Obviously you're very responsible with money because you didn't do anything stupid with it, and your stupid thing was training, so that doesn't count. But no, it's funny because that's why Wayne and I have created this like a mastermind group, if you will, because nothing beats getting in a room, listening, ears open, eyes open, mouth closed for the most part, and just hearing what other people could share with you. And so that kind of leads me into one of my questions for you to actually stay on topic a little bit. What would you tell somebody? Because there's a coach every other realtor. Like, you think you know a lot of realtors, and if you know realtors, you know a lot of coaches, and obviously y'all are two good ones. What would you tell somebody who's like, hey, I think I'm going to be a coach?
Well, I would have to say that number one, make sure you're not doing it for the money. Right? Because there's not a lot of money in it. I mean, there can be if you make it to, some of the extraordinary levels that some have. But if you're doing it for money, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. Like, you need to really have a passion for wanting to help people and wanting to inspire people and wanting to help give them some direction. And you have to be able to find people that are coachable, which is probably the bigger challenge.
But people that want to be coaches, like not education, like formally, but like I see some people, for instance, I was on a Facebook group the other day, and there was a post, and it was like, how many houses do you have to sell to be considered an expert? And like, she's like 25. I was like, whoa, sweet child, 25. Okay. So my point is, like, people are doing it because they think they can coach people. But what would you tell somebody, like, what does their knowledge level need to be without bamboozling the people they're taking money from?
Well, there's kind of that old saying that's not really for a coach, but it talks about manage. People who can manage can't sell, and people who can sell can't manage, right? And I mean, it's historical. You see the best, sales managers in the offices have never sold. And truth be told, I would say probably the top 5 big trainers out there right now, coaches, have never sold real estate.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I want to believe that that's really important, because I've done it. So I'm like, okay, I've sold a lot of homes, and I struggle building this coaching platform. But then there's people out there that are have never sold a home, for goodness sake. And they've built these incredible coaching platforms. So I don't know what the magic is behind it, but I would say if you're an agent who's thinking about being a coach, you might want to do the math, because you're probably better off selling a few homes a year
Sure.
and not coaching. Or start by putting together a local mastermind, like get together and are you a good leader, first of all? Because a coach also has to be a good leader. They have to be able to direct and guide and give people some direction, right? Because there's, people are silently begging to be led. So a good coach has got to be able to give that direction. And if you're struggling in sales, it might be a good coach. But I mean, money wise, you could actually make way more money selling real estate. And why are you wanting to be a coach? Are you wanting to be a coach because you're struggling at sales? So you think, oh, well, I can just go get, 2 or 3 clients a month and, make an extra couple $1,000s instead of selling houses. So is that why you're doing it? Because if that's why you're doing it, it's all the wrong reasons.
Wayne, that question's for you too, though, because like I know you coach coaches, like you have coaches training and you do things for people that want to become coaches. You ever verbalized like what somebody should have as credentials to do it?
And I think it goes back to a lot of what you just said. It's like, why am I starting? Am I doing this because I need another stream of income? But I think that not only applies to coaching, it probably goes to building a team. How many people are like, oh, I'm going to start a team? Like, like they're doing it for all the wrong reasons.
I did that.
Right. You're doing it for all the wrong reasons. So I think it goes back to like, what questions are you getting asked? Are you being asked questions by other agents? Okay, maybe you should start leading this. Are you all like start with the local mastermind, start with the kinds of things like that. And I think that's so important. Then figure out what is, for me, and I know for you too, coaching is our way to make a bigger, this is where my heart is, what I'm doing. Like, this is the way that I can do this more, right? I was in this boat, now I'm in a yacht, right? Like it allows you to fulfill more of what you're doing. But man, I think that it's a big mistake with a lot of people. It's like, begin with the end in mind, and does this line up with where am I trying to go? So Marguerite, for you and like building a team, what was your journey on that side of it? Because I think both of us were raised in this mentality of like, if you're a good person, you eventually build a big team and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know what your journey is there, but I'd love to hear it.
Well, it's kind of funny because I'll go all the way back again, is that I literally started so I had a brokerage. So let me start over. I started as an agent, had no intentions of selling real estate. I actually got my real estate license because my husband was in the mortgage business. And he said, interest rates have dropped to an all-time low of 8%. You should go do refis, right? We had a young son at home. And I thought, okay, well, I can have a flexible schedule. I can kind of work when I want. And that's why so many get into this business, right? Oh, I can work when I want. I don't have to work. I don't have to have a job.
It's also why they get out. It's why they get out.
Exactly. And so I got my license. I went to work for a top producing REO broker, and his phones would ring like crazy, and I'd answer the phones. I'm like, his name was Luigi. I'm like, Luigi, they want to see houses, you guys. This was before we had cell phones. Okay. And he'd be like, well, go show them houses. I'd go out and show houses. Then I'd come back. They want to write an offer. And thank God our contracts were only 4 pages back then. And he'd go write them an offer. I'd be like, okay. I ended up selling 18 houses in my first 6 months. And I thought, I like this gig, right? And I thought, this is awesome. And I had a young baby. Now I had a second one and a third one on the way. So I could work when I wanted and work around their schedule. And then, of course, like all super confident, quickly successful people, I thought, oh, I'm going to go open my own brokerage because that's the smart thing to do when you've been less than a year in real estate. So I opened my own real estate brokerage, and then I started having friends who wanted to come work with me. I was like, okay, that's cool. I think I can make a little extra money off of them, right? It all kind of happened organically and by accident. And then I moved into an office. I'm like, oh, now I'm going to build a big company. I'm going to be a big, And we built it to 120 agents. And by most, you would think that was successful. And in all honesty, it was a hot mess. When I had to pull my production out of it, I was literally paying for these agents to all be there. I was literally
even at 120. I see it so much.
Jesus.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you for saying that. Because so I kind of consult with teams and companies. I'm not a coach, but I've got enough scars that I'm like, let me help a little bit. But Jesus, if you take out the top producer that usually owns the company, how many would actually be profitable? Holy jeez.
None.
Well,
the answer is probably none. Yeah, maybe there's 5 out of 1,000. Yes.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, and I wasn't even paying attention. And the truth be told, I know you guys know this. Agents have no idea what their finances are. They have no idea what their money is. They're the number one industry that owes money to IRS and is, massive credit card debt. I had no idea. I was in the same boat. And it didn't happen until I actually started thinking about selling the company. And they're like, okay, well, two things. I had a franchise. They're like, well, you'd have to sell it to somebody who wants that franchise. And we have to take your production out of the equation. Well, when you took my production out of the equation, it was hemorrhaging. I mean, not just losing like a few $100 a month. We're talking, there's no way we could keep the doors open. And consequently, we ended up shutting the doors down a few months later.
And you're like, no wonder I'm so tired.
I mean, exhausted. And I had kids and, I had all these kids and we live in the country and animals and I was trying to sell real estate and I was trying to keep 120 agents happy.
120 agents.
Psychotic.
Good God. That makes my heart hurt. 120 agents.
Yeah, it was rough. And so, the truth is that most agents they have no idea what their finances are. And that I think is probably the biggest challenge that we're seeing in the industry right now is because people are realizing, right? Nobody cares about the money until there's not money coming in. Then all of a sudden they're like, what is that $9 subscription I've been paying for the last 7 years for? You're like, what is that $10 I'm paying to Apple every month, right? Like you start paying that you never paid attention to. Running a brokerage is a hot mess. And I think what's happening, and this was predicted years ago, is you're seeing a bigger divide between you either got to stay really small where it's just you and a handful, maybe a team, or you got to go big, or you got to join the big kids, right? We're not seeing a lot of those middle of the road 30, 50 agent brokerages. Even the ones that are 300 and 400 agents are not surviving. They're all, getting sucked up by companies like
that's a whole
EXP and LPT and whatever. But
let me ask you, that's your opinion. I don't mean, I mean to interrupt, but I don't mean to disrespect by doing it. But like y'all have been in the business long enough, right? When did that change? Like I try and tell my agents that like it used to be the broker was the king of the neighborhood. Your splits were super low, but they provided everything. When did that start to change that the brokerage started going higher and higher and higher in splits? And then the agent's like, well, really, I needed the support. And the broker's like, I can't pay for that now. Cause I haven't seen that since 2006 when I got in the business. So I'm just curious.
Well, I would say that it's happened. I mean, even when I started, so I'll be honest, when I started 31 years ago, I worked for Prudential, who was then bought up by, I can't remember, but anyway, they all got it bought up. And at that time, it started to get to the point where the agents were like, oh, those commissions are my money, not your money at the brokerage, right? And companies started recruiting. An agent like me back then who, became quickly successful, started getting phone calls. Well, we can pay you this commission. You could pay a flat fee. It really started with Remax, if you think about it.
Remax,
when Remax came out with the 100% model, that like changed the game. And people are like, 100%? How am I going to get 100%? Well, obviously it's not 100%. And that's the biggest misnomer ever out there. When people go, oh, I just pay $500 a deal. So you're not on a split? No. Okay. So you had a $5,000 commission. You paid $500, which means you paid 10%. So you're on a 90-10 split. No. That's not how it works. Okay. Right. So the agents started to think that they were in charge, and they've become in charge because the brokers allowed it. The broker said, I'm going to go recruit Wayne because he sold, more homes than normal last year. And I might as well just take a little bit less money. It's better to get a little money off a lot of people than a lot of money off of a few. And the agents started to be in charge. And again, I would have to say Remax probably started that spiral.
Damn it.
And then there other companies started coming out, the flat fees and the different things like that. But the thing is it always comes down to value, right? There can only be one low cost leader, right? You can't get any lower than Walmart, or maybe you could go to the dollar store, but you can't, there's a low cost leader. So it now comes to value, and what it is. But agents became the mini brokers, so to speak. Agents became in charge. And there's good and bad of that. Like I wouldn't have seen myself working forever on a 50-50 or, 60-40 or something like that, because more entrepreneurs started to get into the business as well. A lot more entrepreneurial minded people started to get into real estate, and it wasn't so dominant.
Now you've got the, resides and place. So now people have gone to super high splits and they go, oh shit, we need structure. We need help. We'll go pay a third party company to come in and fill this gap that honestly, my company could have filled for me had they provided it, but they can't because we're doing like it's almost ironic how cyclical that has become. I don't know where I was going with
It
that
is
first
crazy.
question on it, but it just dawned on me. It's so freaking nuts.
It is crazy. And again, it's because here's the funny thing. So many agents that get into this business, yes, they're entrepreneurial, but they don't have any business experience or knowledge or sense, right? And
Yeah.
there's really not a whole lot of people out there training the business aspect of it, like how to actually run your business like a business. They're teaching how to get more leads, how to recruit agents, how to, create a system, how to whatever. But they're not saying, okay, this is what a business looks like, right? Like every business has 3 core components: operations, marketing, and finance, period. I don't care whether you're selling widgets or whether you're selling real estate. Marketing, operations, and finance. So what do the numbers look like? How do you get the business? And who takes care of it? Right? And agents don't want to hire somebody. Well, I can't afford to hire somebody because they're on commission only. So, if they do hire somebody, here's how they do it. They grab the first person who's breathing because they're so busy. They throw them in a chair and they use the seagull approach. They fly over, they dump a bunch of crap on their desk and they fly out. And then they come back and they're frustrated with the employee. They're like, I can't get good help. They didn't know what to do. Well, you didn't train them on a single damn thing. You didn't communicate with them. You didn't give them any kind of structure, any system, anything. The best book I read when I got into real estate early on was The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth by Dr. Michael Gerber. Agents, if you've not read that book, go get it, read it 50 times, get it on audio, memorize it. Best book ever.
We'll put a link in the show notes for you.
It'll talk about how to systematize your business. But agents don't do that. They fly by the seat of their pants. They have no idea, don't care about structure, won't listen to anybody. I mean, I was guilty of all that myself, so I totally get it. But if they really start to pay attention, if they really track their numbers, we know that numbers don't lie. They tell you which direction to go. Yeah. So if I give you 100 leads, Wayne, and you come back to me and say, oh, all those leads are crap. You're like, okay, let me call them. And then I call them and I get 10 leads out of it. I know the leads aren't crap. I know it's skill, right? Yeah. It's skill training, but nobody ever tracks those numbers. So they have no idea.
What's your coaching style? Like, what's your ideal, like how do you work with your clients, and where do you hope that you end? Like where do you hope that the result, the impact that you make with them?
Well, you've probably already figured out a little bit just in this conversation. I don't really have much of a filter, so I do tell it how it is.
That's why I love you. That's it.
I do tell it how it is. Not very many people are really coachable. So, I have to say, look, are you open? Are you willing to listen? And I will be honest, most don't. They hear what I say, but they don't do what I say. Right? I mean, I have one client, I've coached her for 2 years. I keep trying to fire her. I'm like, you got to stop, because you come and it's a therapy session. It's not you're here to talk about what's going on in your life. You've done absolutely nothing I've told you to do. Right? And so if you come into my meeting and you complain that this is where you're at, then I don't want to hear it. You've done nothing I've said. Right? So a lot of people don't want to hear. They want the easy button. They want the magic pill. It's like why prescription drugs, are like off the hook, because they want the quick and easy thing. They don't want to, we know you want to lose weight, you got to exercise, eat right, right? But I would love to have an easy button that just says, now you're skinny and now you're rich.
Yeah, there you go.
We don't have that. And it's the same thing in real estate. It requires discipline and work and follow through. And, what was I reading the other day? It was talking about lead follow through and how the average agent calls like once and then never calls
for
again.
sure.
If that is, it's terrible. What have you done to help people take action? Like what do you think you've done or do that helps them get kind of out of the smoke?
I would say that probably the most important thing I've tried to do is to just give them one thing to do and don't give them anything else until they've completed that. And I'm laughing at myself as I'm saying this, because for any of you who've gone down the ChatGPT rabbit hole, which is insane right now.
Amazing. Yes. Yep.
I mean, it's insane. So I asked it this question. I'm asking it to help me build this product. Of course, it gives me 30 things to do. So I sat there for a minute and I said, I'm overwhelmed. Please just give me one thing I need to do today. What do I need to do today? And he said, great, that's a great idea. Here's the one thing you need to do. When you're done with it, let me know and I'll give you step 2. And that is when I think back over my clients I've coached and the ones that have been successful, it's those who I say, Wayne, go do this. Call these 3 people and let me know when you're done.
It's so
Let me
true.
know
I think
what
that was my
questions you
biggest.
have, what
Oh my gosh,
challenges you
yes.
have, one thing at a time, because we're all, like I said, we're all ADD. We're all like, oh, let's do this. Oh, wait, I got a shiny thing here. Oh, wait, let's go do this. Hold on. Let's talk about that. We're all crazy. So it's really helping people more and more to just do one thing. One.
Yep. Yep. I think that was my biggest mistake early on in coaching is I was so excited to help people that I would give them all this stuff, right? And I remember one of my clients, she said, do you realize you've given me a new book to read every week? And she's like, I'm doing my best out here, but like, I'm not reading a whole book every single, like I'm, whatever, and all the activities and everything, but it totally is. Let me ask this. I want to ask this question. What do you wish people ask you about more? Like, what do you wish that people sought you out about?
That's kind of a good question. I think part of it is the misnomer of balance, right? And helping people understand that they can actually build a business around their life instead of a life around their business, right?
Okay, so talk about that, because you've done mom and business owner and you've worn all the hats, and you haven't burned it all down.
There have been days.
How have you done that?
Ask my husband, he'll tell you. I think that it has come down to, we have this image in our mind again that there's like, well, first of all, social media is making it worse, right? We're seeing the best of people, on social media. We're getting the best of, record albums. Well, they don't have record albums anymore, but we're seeing the best of everybody. And it's crushing the spirit of so many, because they're feeling like I can't be that, and I should be more successful because, and I should do more because. And at the end of the day, what everyone has to understand is, first and foremost, your family is number one. It's got to be number one, because your greatest regrets in life, we've all heard this a million times, on your deathbed are not going to be, I wish I worked more. It's going to be, I wish I did more with my family. I wish I did more with my kids. I wish I did more with the people that I cared about. More divorces happen because of neglect, more children. And well, if your kids don't end up in therapy, you didn't do a good job, but more kids, are having mental health issues and all these different things. So you got to stop and really figure out, number one, what is most important, right? And I think the best thing that I learned to do early on, thanks to Joe Stump back in the day and by referral only coaching, is I created a schedule for myself. And it says so. You call my cell phone, it says, hi, this is Marguerite. I'm available Monday through Fridays from 8:30 to 5:30. I work evenings and Saturdays by appointment. I take Sundays off to be with my family. People are, who's most disrespectful of that schedule?
Your family.
Other agents. Other agents. Other agents are like, I can't believe you don't work on Sunday. People need to see houses on Sunday. And I'm like, really? No, they don't. People will be respectful of that. You have to set that stage. You have to create that boundary. You have to create that schedule for yourself. And I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I have learned to take that time with my family when I need to. I mean, I had a child who passed away, in 99 when he was 10 years old. And that lesson alone taught me that real estate is not the end of the world. Like, it's really, I need to be able to be there for my family, and I need to help clients understand. And a big part of that comes from that upfront appointment you're having with those clients.
Man. You should write a book that is just the first appointment, right? Like the whole book should just be like what to do day one, so you're not screwed for the next 848 days, right? Like that could literally be a whole training.
I haven't written a book, but I am actually just this week launching my client discussion checklist, which I have. You guys can grab them on social. They'll be posting in the next few days. And it's my client discussion checklist. It's all the things you got to talk about up front. And what's funny is the irony of all of this is what happened last August when the laws changed and agents lost their mind, right? All of a sudden, we now had to go sit down and talk to our buyers. And I'm like, well, you kind of should have been doing that all along.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Like, you should have been having those conversations since day one of how things work and how I get paid and what the real estate process is. Like, why weren't you doing that?
It's so funny with Brad. People are like, what are you doing different now? And Brad's like, I'll tell you what I do. You know what I mean? Because like we're not doing anything different, really. Like, I'll tell you what we do. And we've been like, it's like, he says, people are like, oh, I have to talk to him up front. I can't just like, oh, you should pay me in at the end and we're all going to be okay. Like, we are in, and I would love that checklist. If you do a class, like, let me know. I'll tell everybody to go take it. We are in the expectation business. It is about setting, reminding, adjusting, reaffirming. We are in the expectation business. But like you said, going back to the checklist, most people don't even have their own clear expectations, let alone can I tell someone about them.
Right. Well, I got a question. I want to loop back real quick. Okay. So I totally hear what you're saying. I have my own brokerage. I coach our agents. I don't really call it coaching. I check in with them once a month, but I look for different plateaus, right? And life changes. How would you coach a new agent that puts in hard barriers on their personal time? Like, let's say they're single or newly married. They don't have kids, but they're like, listen, I take Sundays off. I golf 3 days a week. I do this. And then they're like, I don't know why I can't sell houses. Like, I believe there's a, you have to earn the right to not do stuff. But I'm just curious what your take on somebody like that would be.
Well, I think it's going to come back to what is your version of success, right? And I think that's where there's such a variance in this business. Because truth be told, you can have somebody who sells 4 to 6 homes a year. They're making 60 to 80 grand a year, maybe more, depending on their market, which is a lot of money in a lot of areas. Less. Right? With what they say, the average agent 77% of the agents didn't even sell a house last year. So, I mean, there is that. But the truth is that what is your version of success? If your version of success is I only want to sell 4 homes a year and I'm going to make 40 grand and I'm happy with that, then you have to understand that. And as broker owners or as team leaders or as people who do big volume and big numbers, we can't wrap our head around that, right? Because that wasn't our version of success. And so you have to actually ask them, what's your version of success? I know I have an agent who literally works 3 months out of the year and takes the rest of the year off every year. She'll hustle. She'll make 100 grand and she's done for the year. I'm like, how amazing would that be? That is all she wants. She doesn't want any more than that. She doesn't need any more than that. That's her. Then there's other people like the psychotic ones like me who are like, oh, I need to sell 100 homes a year. Oh, I need to sell 200 homes a year. Oh, wait, I don't want to sell 400 homes a year anymore. Let's just sell 30, right? So those versions of success change all the time. So I would say with somebody like that, I would say, okay, that's great. If that's your version of success, what does that look like for you financially? And does that work for you? If that works for you, then your job is to shut up. But if they're complaining
what I keep
about
hearing
it,
you say is do the math. Like,
they have to do the math
early on and figure it out. And I think that's like one of your superpowers is help people like, let's do the math and figure out what and get it dialed in instead of just go for it.
But it's
100%.
The theory is the young, and I'm 40, so the younger generation is not much younger, but hey, I want to do 20, 30 deals, but it's not me. It's not my time. It's the clients suck, or it's hard. The real estate market's hard, or this is hard. So their expectations and wants and their actions aren't lining
first of all, my favorite saying is when you take 100% responsibility for everything in your life, you'll figure it out. If you're not taking responsibility, if you're blaming everybody else, then you're going to continue to blame everyone else. And a year from now, we're going to have this exact same conversation. And I'm going to say the exact same thing. And I'm going to say, when you're ready, when the timing is right, you'll figure it out, right? You get paid in direct proportion to your ability to figure shit out.
Amen.
So, and I say it this way, right? Like I have a friend of my son's right now and he's sleeping on the couch and he's asking me, he's like, hey, do you have any, would you refer me to some clients to do some dump runs and stuff? I said, actually, I won't. And he goes, why? I go, because I've watched your work ethic and your work ethic hasn't gotten off the couch for the last 10 days. So I'm not about to refer you to a client of mine to go do work for them because I don't have the confidence in you that you're going to show up and do the work.
Yes.
So It's no different for agents. You get paid in direct proportion. You want to make more money, then you have to show up. And sometimes that might not be the schedule that you want. You might not be able to go golfing tomorrow.
Right.
That kind of sucks. I get it.
Yeah.
But you have to decide what's most important. If golfing is more important to you, that's fine. Then you can't complain about this work, the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do.
Yep.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. There have been times I've made a lot of sacrifices in my life. Some I regret, some I don't, and a lot of those sacrifices were because I wanted to create a better life for myself and my children and my family. Like it wasn't an option. I remember having a conversation one time with somebody. They're like, well, I can completely see myself homeless. I'm like, I've been homeless. I'm never going to let that happen to myself or anybody that I care about again. No, I'm not doing that. So I will do whatever it takes to go figure that out. But a lot of people right now, not a lot, there's a section of people who don't have that drive in them. And maybe something will happen. Like I've seen people who had like this perfect life and I've got a, spouse who works, so I don't really have to work. And, I want to hang out with my kids. And then all of a sudden they get divorced. And now they're like, now what? And all of a sudden they're figuring out how to hustle when
I'm gonna
they
get
had
into
no
real
idea
estate.
a month ago.
Yeah. Their fallback is real estate. Always. So I feel like.
So, I
What's
think
the
that it comes down to what's most important, and life changes, right? Timing and circumstances change things. So what might be the answer today may not be the answer tomorrow. You might all of a sudden go, oh, I guess I need to go get milk, right? Even like during the REO crisis, I remember BPOs. When the banks were paying $50 for BPOs and agents were like, I'm not doing that for $50. I'm like, girl, that's milk money for my kids. So I started doing BPOs and I figured out how to do 400 BPOs a month. Drive all day taking pictures, sit up all night long to do data input because I had a family to feed.
Jeez.
So yeah, I'll take $50. Is it my first choice? No, but right now it's my only choice. So I need to go figure it out. That led me to selling 200, 300, 400 homes a year and getting into the REOs. And then people are like, how'd you get the REOs? Well, I did thousands of
did the work.
BPOs for $50 that you didn't
did
want to
the
do.
work?
So anyway, I digress.
And I love what you said. Like, I think that your definition of success can change. Yeah, you better have your definition, right? It's like if it changes over time, that's okay. But you better figure out where you're trying to get to. You better have that in mind. For you to know, because you've seen so much and you've experienced so much. What are like the handful of lessons or principles you would love to like pass down to like your grandkids, to new agents? Like what would be kind of the handful of things you'd love to, if you just kind of put them in everyone's brain from birth, like what would be the handful of lessons or principles you'd love to give everyone?
I think that the number one lesson that pops into my mind when you said that is really about listening to your intuition. Like God or whatever you believe whispers to you and says, hey, Wayne, hey, Wayne, go that direction. Hey, Wayne, do this. And if you don't listen, he gets a little louder. He says, Wayne, hello, hey, this is what's going on. And then all of a sudden, if you don't listen, he smacks you right in the face. You're like, oh, wait a minute, right? And most people, sadly, including myself, have waited until they get smacked in the face with a brick. And then they're like, okay, I'll listen now. And I would say that if you can learn young or learn early on, which I'm seeing in my sons, my youngest sons, I'm seeing them be a little more intuitive, paying a little more attention to things than I did at their age. When you start paying attention to those things and you listen, the universe will tell you what to do and how you need to do it and where you need to go. But it's up to you to listen to those signs and to listen to those signals and find a way to pay attention to what's going on. I look back in 2005, it was August of 2005. I put a house on the market and 2 weeks later it was crickets. And I was like, something's going on. I didn't know what. Obviously, I had no idea what was going to happen to the market, but I started paying attention. Next thing you know, I started getting BPO requests. I'm like, what the heck is a BPO? I started diving down that rabbit hole and figuring it out. Next thing you know, the whole market, became a hot mess. And now I'm not saying I knew, but I saw the signs and I was listening and I was paying attention and I was going a different direction, just like right now. Right now, it's not 2022. Where the whole world is, standing there in line waiting for you to help them. Right now, you got to work a little harder. You got to work a little smarter. You might have to make 100 calls instead of 10 calls.
Yeah.
You might have to, do mailers. You might have to do 50 open houses, instead of not hold it open and have a line standing out and multiple offers over 100,000. You might have to have hard conversations with your sellers that you can't overprice it by 50 grand. No, you're not going to get $100,000 all cash, no contingency offers right now. You have to pay attention. And I think that if people listen and they learn to slow down and pay attention and really focus on what's important, you'll be fine. But if you don't, you're going to all of a sudden be standing there with a brick in your face going, what the heck happened?
That's great.
How do you teach someone, or what have been your best practices to get better at listening?
Well, I think it's going deeper in the conversations that you have with people. Like there's the conversation that says, hey, Wayne, how are you today? Right. And if I'm watching your facial expressions and I'm listening, I might see you go, oh, it's okay. And that's kind of a sign to me like, hey, what's going on? What's really going on? What's happening with you? But a lot of people will stop at that. They'll see you do that and they'll go, oh, okay, cool. Have a great day. See you later. They move on. Right. I mean, that's just a small example, but I think that, we're in this world that is so connected in so many ways, but people are really craving a connection. They really want to have that connection with somebody. Like, how is life, man? What's really going on? Hey, let's get together. Like I've been doing this thing this year where when I think of somebody, I make it a priority to call them because something is telling me I need to call them and have a conversation. Yes. And sometimes those are great conversations. Hey, it's great to hear from you. How's life? Life's good. Just had a grandbaby. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, Marguerite, I just had the worst day. I had this fall apart. My husband just got diagnosed with this, or, sometimes, and they just need that person to talk to. And we're not doing that as much. We're posting crazy stuff on social media. We're getting in arguments about things that don't matter. Whether, like I learned a long time ago, don't talk about politics, religion, or COVID on social media because people are losing their mind and it's ruining relationships. It's insane to me.
It really is.
So, it's so important that we need to have those conversations with people. We need to look in somebody's eyes and say, you know what? I'm here. What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And it might be something as simple as food.
Yeah. And, that also, ties back. That's a good life lesson, first of all, right? But it also ties back to, I'm always trying to put my hand on, why are some agents more successful, even if they're batshit crazy, but they're doing more deals and people gravitate towards them, right? We all know those. Like, there's the crazy ones out there slinging deals. You've got the good, salt of the earth people that are like, I'm doing 2 deals, and they're doing everything right. I think it's because there's a good trait of people that can hear what the people are not saying. And I don't want to say manipulative in a bad way, but what is your client not telling you? Or when your client pushes back on, let's say it's the price, when you're giving them initial pricing, is it the price? Do they really care if it's $500 or $550? No, but maybe they care because they got to put their kid in college, right? Or maybe they care because they've got to pay off a debt. And so I think that is one of the main traits that realtors are not good at. And the ones that are good at it are great at selling houses.
Well, I think that we as an industry many times forget that there are human beings behind the deal. They're human beings behind the transaction. Like I have these clients that were referred to me by a friend of my daughter's, and her parents are in their 90s. And I went and met with them in November, and they're moving into assisted care facility. They don't want to. Nobody wants to, right? And they're not happy about it. They've lived in this home for 40 years, right? And, all of a sudden, and they're ready to sell and sign. They're like, we've got to get this money out of this house because we need to write the check for the assisted care. We don't want to be a burden on our kids. Then the kids show up and they're like, you guys can't sell this house. And the kids are like, the parents are like, what, right? Meanwhile, I'm there navigating this conversation. I'm like, hey, let's just take a step back. Let's see, what some options are. Let's see what we can figure out for you guys. But a lot of agents are in there like, oh, let's just sign the contract and get out of here. Let's get your home sold. There's so much more going on behind the scenes. Or the guy who I met with recently again, who was in his 90s, his wife died. He'd been married for 65 years.
God bless
selling the house that they lived in for 50 of those years. And, the agent is walking out, woohoo, I got a listing. Yeah. Meanwhile, this guy is sitting in the house heartbroken. Right. And I think we forget, there's obviously all the opposite ends of those stories, but we forget that there's true human beings on the other ends of those deals.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we can pay attention to those people and pay attention to those relationships, and the more that we're listening, like I said earlier, I believe you will be as successful as you want to be, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. It
I would say
reminds me.
that's probably been my superpower, has been the ability to pay attention and to genuinely care what's going on with these people and what can I do to help them, whether that's a buyer, a seller, a coaching client, somebody,
Yeah,
is the ability to, hey, what's going on? Like, stay connected, stay in tune. I've been good at that in my life for
you
some
can
reason.
definitely. That definitely comes through in this conversation for sure. And it's funny. It reminds me of a time, and I think Wayne, you were there back in Boston. We do a mastermind of previous 30 under 30s for NAR, and I was helping with content. I had Lee Brown come, who's awesome, and she put this picture up on the screen, and it was a house, and it was all 30 under 30s, and the whole thing I was like, hey, humble them a little bit because 30 they get it and they think they're hot shit. So she puts a house up there, and she's like, what do y'all see? And of course, like, oh, bad angle, too much driveway. I changed the front color. And I'm not saying she said it like this, but she was like, no, MFers, that is somebody's life savings. That is somebody's home where they brought their kids home. That is where they had a wake for their father. Like, it was just, I mean, it still sits with me. It's probably 10 years later. I'm like, damn, like, yes, we think of just what angle and what picture, and people are thinking, this is my life. What
Well,
do I get?
it's interesting too, because I'm sure you guys have both experienced this. We all get humbled at some point in our life. And if you haven't been humbled yet, it's coming.
It's coming.
We all get humbled, right? We all think we're that in a bag of chips, right? And then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, no, you're not. Let me pull everything out from under you. Let me have you file for bankruptcy. Let me have you lose a child. Let me have you go through a divorce. We all get humbled. And I think that is probably, as we age and get older and we have more experience in life, that we can see that before others can see it, right? We're like, oh, buddy, you're on your way.
Yeah, stove's hot, right?
It's a matter of time, right? And that's probably the hardest part. And to be able to survive that humble side and allow that to shine through and help others see it, I think that's pretty important. Yeah, Lee's pretty amazing. And I love her for saying that, because I think it's not said enough. The numbers are important. I get that. But you have to remember there are human beings behind those numbers, and there are human beings behind those leads and those deals and those transactions, right? Those are people's lives. And we get the opportunity. We don't have to. We're blessed with the opportunity to be able to help these people through one of the largest financial decisions they'll make in their life, and many times the hardest decision that they'll make in their life, right? That's what we get to do. We get to do that every day. We're blessed with that opportunity.
And we just think it's a cosmetic decision. What house, what color, what carpet. And it's so much deeper what they're saying.
Always emotional.
Right. My worst emotional ones are the people moving down the street and they just had to tell their neighbors they're moving. Like, they're just, it wasn't a bad thing, but they were the most emotional ones out of all of them. So yeah, I agree. I sell that a lot too. So, well, when it comes to building, what would you want to leave as kind of your words of wisdom for agents? I know we kind of just went through that a little bit, but how can they be better at relationships instead of sales when it comes to these things?
Well, I'll give you the perfect example. I talk about this a lot on social media. I have a gal named Linda Buckmaster who I sold a house to in 1997, a $50,000 HUD home, you guys. She was a grandma who wanted to make sure that she had a home for her grandchildren because her daughter was having challenges, and she's given me permission to share this story. $50,000 HUD home in 1997. I think my commission was like $1,500 before splits, right? Maybe $700. However, I genuinely cared, and I did anything it took to help her get into this home. She has since bought and sold 8 homes through me. But it gets better than that. She has referred people who have referred people who have referred people 8 levels deep, 65 referrals, over $400,000 in commissions since 1997.
Damn.
That's a relationship business. And the truth is that most agents don't pay attention. They don't have a CRM. They don't have a database. They don't even know who referred who or where they came from. They're not tracking any of their business. So imagine if you just did that, and now you have 2,500 people in your database just doing that you're connected to, that you're having conversations with, that you've built relationships with. I can sell 30 to 50 homes a year and not do one stick of marketing and advertising. I don't, actually, except for listing marketing to promote properties.
Sure.
But I don't do any marketing or advertising because I did the work. I put in the work. I put in the time. I made sure that those relationships were important to me.
Yeah.
And that is what we do. And that's what we should be doing more of, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. Well, we can't thank you enough for your time and the expertise that you've shared. And it's all been really poignant and like on target. I think that's the market we're in. And like, I think more agents, the 77% that didn't sell last year or whatever the number's thrown around, imagine if they heard this conversation, how many houses they actually can sell.
Exactly.
And so I appreciate you being here. I know Wayne does too. I'm not trying to speak for him, but
No,
thank you.
and I just want to say thank you for like your impact on the community, and keep doing it. Cause like, I think that you bring so much wisdom in a great way. So it's just like, keep doing what you're doing. And I just want to say thank you for all of us that have benefited from that over the years. And I mean, I get goosebumps when you begin to describe, how to build a beautiful, sustainable business and life. And I think you can, not enough people are beating that drum, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? What we hear about is the yacht and I did 7,000 deals. Is like, yeah, but I built a life and I'm able to spend time with my grandkids and I actually love what I do. And I would just say, keep doing that because it is hitting with a lot of us. And I'm just very grateful for your heart and for the, you're such, if I could make a statue of a phenomenal real estate agent, I think it would be you. And it's just like, hey, this is what to look up to. Like, this is what to be excited about. And so seriously, thank you for your time and everything you're doing.
Thank you. I'm super grateful to get to spend this time with you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.